Hello. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome. One and all. Yet another episode of Wick TV. Oh, man, gang. I apologize. I was supposed to do this stream yesterday, but I was sick. I got a fever, over the weekend. Sucked. Kind of stayed in bed all day and just, relaxed. And, my body fought the disease with vigor. And we've overcome. I'm still a little under the weather. I'm still not at my full power, but I'm good enough to stream, and I got a lot to talk about. A lot I wanted to cover, because a lot's going down, a lot's happening, and I wanted to give a chance also for you guys to call in if you wanted. Right? I promised call-ins, so I figured I'd go live, get call-ins if you guys wanted to, and we'll see what we do. Foxy Degenerate, hello. Nice to see you. Welcome to the show. We're going to give a few minutes for people to kind of shuffle on in. It feels like a long time since I've streamed, but the last stream we had was Thursday. It wasn't that long ago, gang. Okay? It wasn't forever ago. But, I don't know. Time's weird, right? Time's weird. Again, lots have been happening. Lots been going on. Lots to talk about, and I want to cover it because I think it's important. How have you all been? I hope you've been good. I hope you've been treated well and that you are taking care of yourself. Okay, there's no need to panic. Panicking doesn't help. Panicking does nothing for us. Panicking has no upside. I see a lot of people in my Discord, in the tweets, on the Twitters, and people I talk to on occasion in other venues, very upset, very scared, very panicky. It doesn't help. Nothing is served through this. And I think that while, yes, there are things to be worried about and concerned about, panic isn't the move. And we're going to talk about that today. We're going to discuss it. I got my little chopstick wand, okay, to help me out. Because again, apologies, getting over some sickness. Levi, hello. Well, hello to you too. Nice to see you. Welcome to the show. Frostback asking questions. Did you watch the new show on HeadVid? I liked it. What new show? You gotta tell me about this new show. I did see a new show that I wanted to talk a little bit about. I started it. I saw the first couple episodes. I was very impressed, actually. It's on Hulu. It's called Paradise. Beautiful show, okay? Beautiful show. I don't want to give too much away. I went into it kind of blind. I didn't know much. There's just the blurb that was like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. But wow, it was excellent. I loved it. Oh, Shoe on HeadVid. I did not see the newest Shoe on HeadVid. Sorry. No count Mike. Breaking news. Doge recommends defending Wick TV. I don't think Doge is recommending anything regarding me, but we're going to talk about Doge. A lot to go over in that department. Toby-Wan Kenobi. Babe, BB, and Trump about to endorse Wick as well. No Cow Mike says, Wick, no reason to panic. Also, Wick, we will never win another election because of random people on Twitter saying things. So here's okay, where do we want to start, gang? Okay, because there's several angles that we can begin. We can talk about what No Cow Mike just mentioned. Testicle Spectacle, is this Testicle Johnson under a new name, or is this a different testicle? There's so many testicles out there. What's your impression of No Man's Sky? I've enjoyed it so far. I hadn't played it since release, right? I got it shortly after release, and I played it a little bit, and I was like, ugh. I kind of set it aside. But I keep hearing and seeing new, like, updates to it come out all the time. And I'm like, okay. A new one kind of got me to overcome my hesitancy, reinstall it. And I played a little bit today, and I'm having fun. But yeah, we'll get to it. Testicle Spectral says, I beg your pardon. There's another guy named Testicle Johnson that hangs out in my stream. If you're not him, I'm sorry. Yeah, Will USAID be replaced by China aid worldwide? Most likely, but again, we'll get to that. Many to the max. Fuck Twitch chat, YouTube better. Look, you're both lovely, okay? You're both lovely chats, lovely individuals, okay? No need to compete. You're all friends of the channel in here. It's all the same. You're all seeing the same feed, okay? Debaser, nice to see you. Cacophonies, how about Luca, huh? Are you talking about the Doge guy? Oh, again, we're going to talk about it. We're going to get to it. We're going to get to it. Oh, again, sorry, my brain's a little scrambled right now. It's a little fried because of the fever from yesterday. But you know what? We'll get through. Okay, let us talk, I guess, first about USAID. So, 5 days ago, 4 or 5 days ago, if I had asked you, dear chat, hey, what do you think of USAID? Most of you would have said, what's that? Or, AIDS is bad. We don't want AIDS, okay? You wouldn't have had any idea what USAID was, what USAID did, what anything about it, anything related to it. 90% of you would have just kind of shrugged your shoulders and been, again, unaware. However, today, everyone's an expert on USAID, okay? Everyone's decided that they're going to take the tweets that have been made, both in defense of it and in opposition to it, and use that to shape their whole worldview around the thing. Now they have very strong opinions on this program, okay? Without even knowing what it is, still, they're not quite sure, couldn't really tell you. But I wanted to go over the basics of it because, frankly, I'm not an expert either. I've known about the basics for a long time. This isn't a new program. This is something we've had for decades now. And it does some good. It does some bad. It does a lot of things. And we're going to talk about it. And we're going to go over a little bit about why I think we need to continue to have it. And why I think that the way Elon and his team are currently going about dismantling it, as well as, again, it's seemingly under Trump's orders. It's frankly illegal. There's no other word for it. That's how these things work. They are obviously going to try to challenge this in court. It's going to go to the Supreme Court. But again, from the lawyers I've talked to, including Lactoid and some others, it's likely not gonna fly. So let's talk about that. What is USAID? USAID it's an acronym. It's United States Agency for International Development. And what does that mean? And why do we have it? So back in the 60s, okay, we wanted a program to try to combat Soviet influence. Because again, if you remember in the 60s, we had the Cold War, the USSR was rising in power, and the US was competing with influence with them on a world stage, right? To try to convince other countries to give them favorable deals, to kind of lean in their favor ideologically, all these things, right? So what USAID does is it funnels money to various programs that can, it's supposed to aid in the development of foreign countries, right? Help them build infrastructure, just help, things to help them be more inclined to being favorable to the United States. Kinetic pause as a primary instrument of U.S. soft power? Yeah, pretty much. Non-Fawn says, I'm done being a trade expert. I'm an aid expert today. Yeah. Bobby Johnson, we need 1.5 million for DEI in Serbia. Jimmy Bean says develop program, right? Certain things that they fund, or maybe limiting how they can direct the money and things like that. Hold on, my OBS is being weird. It's disconnecting and reconnecting, and I don't know why. Is this interrupted for you guys? Can you still hear me? OBS is being weird. Is back now? When did I cut out? Okay, I'm back though. You guys can hear me now. I'm good. I'm still going. So to restart a little bit, yeah, it goes into development. It goes into soft power. It's our primary tool for spreading our influence, economically, culturally, etc. This is the main kind of umbrella with which we direct funds towards various programs with that aim in mind. Now, again, there are plenty of programs within that kind of sketch, kind of weird, maybe should be looked at, maybe should be audited. I'm okay with that, actually. I'm okay with cutting some of these issues, making it a little more efficient and robust and things like that. But there are proper ways to do that. There are proper channels to go about how to direct this. And the way that Trump and Elon are going about it is bypassing the congressional power, one of their constitutional powers, the power of the purse, right? It's basically it's vying with Congress to try to limit one of their powers and give it to the executive branch. And on principle, that is a dangerous thing. We have for the last 20, 30, maybe 40 years seen a huge increase in the power of the executive branch in this country, okay? From executive orders to also being able to unilaterally declare drone strikes and military operations, etc. We have seen a huge spike, right, from all parties. Everyone involved has, when they have the executive power, they try to take more power into it so that they can do more. This is something that whichever group happens to be in power at the time, whether it be Democrats or Republicans, are like, yeah, sure, it's great. And when they're not in power, they're like, oh, this is bad. We shouldn't do this. And so they're all fucking hypocrites when it comes to this, frankly. Okay. I'm just being real with you. But still, executive overreach has been a problem for a while. And this is yet another step, I think, in a very dangerous direction for this country, where we give more and more of what should be the powers of the legislative branch over to the executive branch. And I worry. I worry when it comes to things like USAID, not because I think that everything within the USAID program or under its auspices are good and should be preserved, but I worry about the methods with which they are currently using to undermine it and to get rid of it. J-Max says, let's also bear in mind that Congress has permitted this by abdicating its own authority. Well, again, Congress, both left and right, should be putting their foot down on this and saying, hey, you don't get to, Trump, you don't get to decide this. You don't get to decide where the money goes. We get to decide that. That's our job. Because it's the Congress's job. Everything within USAID, right, has to go through Congress. So all the programs and stuff that they fund go through Congress. Congress voted on it. Congress authorized it, and Congress not implemented it, but you know what I mean. They funded it. They authorized the funds for it. They authorized the program. It all went through Congress. Every single thing in there. It had to, right? That's how it works. The executive branch cannot override that. It has its veto power. If it wanted to veto the individual issue, that was its chance to do so. But once it's in law, the executive branch cannot just say, oh, no, we're just rescinding that unilaterally. They have to go through Congress for it. And look, Trump controls the House. Trump controls Senate. The Republicans control all three branches of the government. They can, if they want to get rid of a lot of the programs in USAID, they can do it. They have that the votes, right? But they're not doing it that way. They've decided, for whatever reason, to give this power to Elon Musk and Doge to kind of just go through it and gut it. And I do worry what precedent that sets for the future. Okay, it's a problem. It's dangerous in a lot of ways. Again, I'm not here panicking over it. I honestly think this is a giant overstep on the part of Trump, and there will be a backlash. I think the public, the part of the public who even knows this is going on, at least, I don't think they are in favor of this overall. And I think this will hurt them, the Republicans specifically. Republicans and Democrats can unite on this, and they should unite on this, and saying, hey, executive branch, Mr. Trump, President Trump, you don't get to do this. You got to go through us. Come on, have some balls, okay? Give your balls a tug, right? Stand up to the man. Hold on to whatever shreds of dignity you have. We can, and we should, have a debate about what should be funded by USAID. That's a perfectly reasonable conversation to have. It's a perfectly reasonable thing to vote on. It's a perfectly reasonable thing to lobby and to legislate about. All for it, right? Whether it should be expanded, reduced, what programs should be cut, what programs should be increased in funding, all these things. It's fine. It's perfectly okay. But we have a process for a reason. We don't have kings in this country. We have an executive branch, we have a legislative branch, and we have a judicial branch. And we got to stop letting each of these branches, the executive branch specifically in the last 20 or 30 years, just suck up all the oxygen in the room, all the power in the room. $5 from DOGE Nuts. How's the pizza wick? It's okay. It's a little burnt, actually. But again, my taste buds aren't firing on all cylinders here because, well, I was sick. I'm reading chat, gang. I think it's Jimmy Bean says, I think it's far more dangerous that no one was talking about this until now. Talking about what specifically? Talking about USAID or talking about executive power overreach? Because we've been, look, whatever side isn't in power have been talking about executive power overreach for the last 20 or 30 years. They just stop talking about it when they get power. Frankly. If you're talking about USAID, yeah, it's been a while since we've had a discussion on USAID. That's true, right? Again, as I said, prior to 5 days ago, none of you knew what USAID was. Well, I won't say none of you, but a large percentage of you had no idea what USAID was. And again, USAID has a lot within it, and I couldn't tell you every program that was in it. I just couldn't. It's primarily a mechanism, one of about 3 that we have, to give foreign aid to different countries, right? And it also does a few other things, but... Oh, am I pronouncing it wrong? Okay, sorry. I call it USAID. USAID sounds weirder and it's more syllables. But yeah, the United States Agency for International Development. I said that earlier. Audacity says, my disdain for USAID is well-researched and personally experienced. I'm curious, Audacity, how have you personally experienced disdain for USAID? It's pronounced you said. It looks like USAID to me, okay? Look, I learned by reading. It looks like USAID. I'm going to go with USAID. I keep saying USAID is, I don't know, it doesn't look like it. $5 from DOGE Nuts. The good news is that any executive order I don't like can be overwritten with a single election. The bad news is any executive order I do like can be overwritten by a single election. Yeah, well, that's the problem, right? Time Watch is kidding. Okay, look. You guys can get. I'm pretty gullible when it comes to pronunciations. You will trick me. You will be able to trick me. I will fall for it. I'll be like, oh, is that really how it's said? Okay, because I don't listen to podcasts. I don't listen to things. My primary method for gathering information is reading. So pronunciation I often get wrong. It is a weakness. What's wrong with a 90-day pause and audit? I don't think there's anything wrong with an audit necessarily, right? However, trying to, as I said, this kind of thing needs to go through the legislative branch, not the executive branch. This kind of if you want to change the funding for this, there's a way to do it. The legislature, not by fiat. Okay. Let's on this topic, right? And I do want to have a show next week on USAID and DOGE specifically. But I want to talk about something else that came up. And I'm curious your opinion on it. Recently a report was released, and it named and provided, I believe, photographs of some of the people who are involved in DOGE and going through the Treasury Department, USAID, and a few other programs. A lot of people have said that this is doxing, and I'm curious what you guys think of that. Are you guys familiar with this, by the way? Are you? Do you know what I'm talking about here? Are you aware of what I'm referencing? There was I forget which paper or which article. It might have even been a Reddit post that exposed this, right? But basically gave the names and pictures of several of the people working in this program, and they're all young. They're all like 20 years old. Okay? Like 19, 20, 21, very young kids. They're adults legally, but look, they're 20, 21-year-olds, okay? A couple of them are pretty impressive, actually. I looked into some of their backgrounds. I was very curious. And this Luke Farage guy, I don't know how you say his last name. Seems like an exceptionally smart gentleman. Right? However, there's a lot of people who are crying foul that their names were released. A lot of people are saying that this is doxing. I don't think that's true. I think it is within the public interest to know who is messing with our money, who's working for the government. There are employers, gang, right? Or employees. There are employees. They work for the people. We are the people. We deserve to know who works for us. Now, a lot of people are making death threats and stuff. No, that's way out of line. That's uncalled for, unconscionable, deplorable, condemnable. Anyone who does that is sick, disgusting. And if you are engaging that kind of harassment, you need to quit it now. But to act as if we don't have an interest in knowing who is heading up and running and executing these programs is just silly to me. I think we have an absolutely prurient interest in knowing who is in charge of these things and who is running these things. I think trying to cover it up and trying to keep it in the shadows and in the dark First of all, it's going to make every conspiracy guy go super nuts, right? And second of all, it doesn't do us any favors. If the people running these programs are mid, right? If they're just kind of these average bureaucratic goons, I'd like to know, right? If even worse, they're these logically captured weirdos, I'd like to know. If right, it's one of those things where the public, they work for us. Yeah, we absolutely need to know. Portland is Burning says it's basically doxing. It's in the public interest, but if vigilantes can dox anyone where a compelling case for public interest can be argued, we're ringing a bell that can't be unrung. I just don't know if it's like they're not posting their addresses, right? I didn't see that, at least. They're just posting their names. Like, this is who's working here. Old School is giving me a US code. Protection of individuals performing certain official duties. It depends on the duty, I suppose. Like, I could see there's an overriding interest when it comes to the security concerns when you have something like just to be a little extreme here, like a secret agent, right? They're engaged in very important work, but you wouldn't want people to know the names of them, because knowing the names of those people would, first of all, inhibit their ability to do their job, and second of all, put them at extreme risk. And so I think that, yes, there are good reason to be protective over certain people pursuing certain jobs, and even if they're public employees. Does that make sense? Right? I don't think DOGE qualifies. But maybe you can convince me. Give me a better argument. I'm not like super sold on this. So if you can convince me, go ahead. I just think that, like, if you want to, heavy's the head that wears a crown, man. If you want influence over these things, we have to know your name. We have to know who you are. It'd be like a congressperson running under a pseudonym and refusing to give their real name. I would not vote for that person, because why are you hiding who you are? That kind of thing. There are no laws against doxing, at least not usually. AKA Batozai. Ahoy, chat. Ahoy, AKA Batozai. We are taking it easy today because I'm coming down from an illness. I think it was COVID, gang. I don't think I've ever had COVID before. I think I got COVID over the weekend. I'm not sure, though. Like, people say COVID, like, takes you out, knocks you out for a couple weeks. Didn't knock me out for a couple weeks. So it could have been just a normal fever or something. I'm not sure. You could change that, aka Batozai. You can become green again if you wanted. Rizius says, also, Doge duty doesn't need their name hidden like a spy or agent. Yeah, that's another thing. And again, I don't know if it was COVID or not. I'm just saying, I got something. And it knocked me out for a couple days. Old School says, I'd argue the Doge investigators are investigating a potentially corrupt and criminal organization. Doxing is an attempt to intimidate the investigators. I don't know. I want to know who's poking around in the government files. Especially if you're getting access to my money, the taxes that I'm paying into the government. I think it's within our interest to know who you are. Rabid Wombat says it was probably syphilis. It might have been. $5 from Zephyr Hash. As a conservative told me, you aren't doing anything illegal. Why do you want to hide your name? Now, look, to be fair, there are a lot of people who have said some horrific things about these people, okay? And that is entirely uncalled for. It's gross. AKA Batozai, thanks for the 5 gifted Wick memberships. I really appreciate you, man. Cervantes says, "Oh, now you care about where your tax dollars are going." I mean, I always cared. I don't get too particular with the details. But if suddenly someone was like, "I'm going to give $10 trillion to this country," I'd be like, "Wait, what? Explain." Scope, scale, and all these things. Context matters with these things. I do find it very interesting, though, how many people have decided that it was totally okay to stalk the socials of one of the helicopter pilots who died recently and try to paint all sorts of rumors and opinions about them and their family and their involvement and things like that. Totally okay to do. But releasing the names of these individuals is suddenly verboten. I don't know. I don't think you can hold these two thoughts simultaneously. I think you should say both is okay or neither is okay. Now, you could say it's in poor taste how people responded, right? Like, I don't think it's wrong to want to know who was involved in the plane crash that happened. Like, who were the pilots, right? What were their background? I think that's perfectly fine. It's a little distasteful to do it the day of, right? Or to try to cast aspersions without knowing anything, right? But there's nothing inherently wrong with wanting to know who's involved in this. Like, who was the air traffic controller who was involved, right? Excuse me. Again, a little sinus stuff, so bear with me here. Bear with me. Okay. However, again, looking through all their Facebook stuff, all their Instagram, looking for ways to call them a lesbian, that's where it becomes gross and disgusting. And just as the case where I think that wanting to know, hey, who's going through our money right now? I don't think that's wrong. But saying these people going through our money, we need to find them and kill them. That's wrong. Wicked's congested. That's true. I am. Methstony ain't sharing his stash no more. Clear those sinuses right up. You guys have weird ideas of my relationship with Destiny, that I was getting drugs or something. It's probably a joke, though. That's probably fine. We got a couple callers. I'm going to take these callers real quick, and then we're going to get back to some of these takes. But I want to hear, especially old school. Hold on. Another new account says, okay, hold up. It's okay when it's the left doing it? Where did I say it's okay that the left is making death threats or anything? It's not. I just said it wasn't. I think it's okay for both sides to want to know who's involved in our government. That's an okay take. I think it's okay when the left wants to know, hey, who's in charge of this program? I think it's also okay when the right wants to know, hey, who's in charge of this program? Who's running this program? I think that's okay. It's what they do with that information that gets a little weird. Let me bring on a caller, and we'll take some takes here. Give me a second. Hello, you're live.
Hello. What's up?
Oh, living life. How are you doing?
Good. I gotta mute the stream. 1 sec.
Okay, take your time.
All right. Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah. I was just gonna quickly say I think that as far as the USAID stuff is going on right now, at the very least, there's eyes on it for once. Like you said, I mean, I wasn't aware of what was going on with USAID. I think most people weren't. And I think that generally, even if it's not ideal, the way that Trump is going about it right now, at least we are hopefully going to have a little bit more accountability for Congress to actually do their job and not give broad broad licenses to billions of dollars that goes to some organization that is ultimately not actually accountable to the American people.
Well, I mean, every program under USAID was given money by Congress. Like, that was what they did. They gave them money and they passed a bill and said, you get this much money to do this specific program. It's usually an omnibus bills and things like that, sure, but that's unfortunately how we get a lot of stuff done in Congress these days through the legislative branch. I just don't know how this is going to hold anyone accountable. And when you say that while it might not be ideal how he's doing it, I don't think that's a word. What he's doing again is unconstitutional right now, how he's doing it. Because again, we have very clear, defined powers that are given to the branches in this case. And the legislative branch has the power of the purse in this case. So while the executive branch obviously can do quite a few things, one of the things they can't do is just kind of wave away money that was passed by Congress. They just can't do that.
Yeah, and while I do agree with that, I mean, the executive has been acting unconstitutionally well before now. I mean, most executive orders are unconstitutional.
Certainly, I agree with you that the sucking up of extra constitutional powers by the executive branch has been an ongoing process for years and years and years. Many presidents have done this throughout my entire life, mostly starting with Reagan, if we're going to go back that far, and everyone has just done it more and more. Certainly true, but this is an extra step, and I think it's worth opposing this kind of step.
Yeah, I guess the constitutionality of it is something that's going to be challenged by the Supreme Court.
It will.
But I mean, either way, I personally have had issues with how Congress has been doing their funding for a while. I don't think that. I mean, it's easy to say, but like if the founders were to envision Congress being what it is today, passing the bills that they are today, they probably would have had additional checks and balances to not just allow Congress to give wide discretionary budgets to programs that are run by non-government entities that really can use their money for like whatever they want.
So
I mean, so long as they can tangentially say it's somewhat related to the purpose of the money, like we're giving the Catholic Church billions of dollars, and then they're funneling that money into aid for illegal immigrants to sneak into the country.
So I have no problem with like an audit, right? That's not my issue here, is like, hey, let's find out where this money's actually going, right? Are we using this money correctly? I have no problem with even the executive branch wanting an audit on a program. I think that's fine. I think that's good in many cases, actually. The problem I have is when you decide that this money that has been allocated by Congress, that you're just simply going to block it from being able to do that. That's frankly not something the executive branch is able to do or should be able to do. And you're right, it will be challenged in the Supreme Court. And I think the Supreme Court will overturn it. And the lawyers who have talked to about this, the constitutional originalist lawyers at least, such as Lactoich, there's a couple others, pretty much agree that probably it's going to be overturned and they're not going to be able to, this won't stand. But I guess my issue, right, is we have fixes for if you feel a program is overfunded, if you feel like a program shouldn't be funded anymore, there are methods and fixes that we have now in the current system with dealing with that. It's called Congress. They can give money, they can take it away as well. Congress can pass a bill to fund things, and they can also pass a bill revoking funding from things. So again, an audit, beautiful, based, great, let's do it. But once we do that, Congress Oh, you got okay. It's okay, deal.
I got my son in the background.
No,
Sorry.
it's all good. Congress needs to be the ones to remove that money or give more money if they think it's not enough, right? And again, that's their job. That's the power given to them by Constitution. So what DOGE seems to be doing in this case is frankly taking away one of the powers of the legislation branch and just giving it to the executive, and that's a problem for me. So
Yeah, to some degree, though. On the other hand, tactically, it's really effective because it is causing the conversation to happen. It's kind of like it's something that Sitch brought up on their live stream today. That with what Trump was doing with the tariffs is an effective way of bringing attention to something that would otherwise, because like an audit happens and people are going to forget about it extremely quickly, and I don't really think audits on the government do anything really, because how many audits have we had of various organizations and just nothing ever really happens. I think at the very least we're getting a conversation starter, and if it gets overturned by the Supreme Court, doesn't matter, because it was going to get overturned anyways, and now the conversation is taking place.
I think it's a bad idea for our country specifically, right? Is if we try to test everything through the Supreme Court, just constantly saying, oh, the Constitution specifically doesn't give us this power and specifically gives it to someone else. Well, we're just going to do it anyway, and let's see if the Supreme Court stops us. I don't like that as a heuristic, or not a heuristic, as a way of doing things, because there are so many potential pitfalls with that kind of thing that make it a problem for me. But thank you, Deej, for calling in. Thank you for giving your opinion. I got a couple more people to get through. And until I talk to you again, I'll see you later. Okay, buddy?
Adios.
$5 from another new account. Obama halted money for coal mining reform. Biden halted fund overseas fossil fuels borders. Why is this a problem when Trump does similar? I'm not familiar with those cases. Okay. But if they were doing it unilaterally without the approval of Congress, then they shouldn't have done that. We haven't had a situation that I'm aware of, at least, where these kinds of things have been done without congressional approval before. Again, the government does a lot of shit. I am not fully up to date on every single thing the government does. Very possible that certain times these things have been done in the past. I would also call those things wrong and bad if they were done, if they went behind Congress's back to do it. That was probably wrong of them to do. But again, without knowing the details, I can't really give you more on that. $2 from another new account. Also, you misrepresented me earlier. I'm not pro-threats. I didn't mean to suggest you were. If I did, I didn't mean to. Sorry again. I'm a little congested. I'm a little sick. My brain's a little fried. So forgive me. We're just doing what we can. Let's get on the next caller. Hello, you're live.
Hey, there we go. One sec. Hey, what's up, Wick?
Oh, not much. How are you doing? Where'd he go? Let's try it again. Hello, you're live.
Yes.
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh, there's
my
two of
good
you.
friend here. My good friend here was listening to. I wanted to weigh in on heavily on.
Yeah, so you're talking about the Doge, right?
And
like
other things,
yes. Is it okay? Yeah, I mean, my thing is like, I mean, whether we like it or not, like, government is a business. Like, no matter, like, if we like it or that way or not, like, that's just how capitalism is. We need to make sure that the funds that we're spending is actually going to make it, like, profitable. So that way we have better lives, low key. So I don't understand why people are getting so upset with it. There are some things that, like, I don't agree with this administration, like just how it cut off everything within like last week, like without a notice, and that's a distraction, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not efficient, So if we could cut stuff efficiently without causing much chaos within the government, I think shit would be a lot more smoother.
But
Minimal
the
disruption.
there's two problems with this. One, that I think that running our government as you would a business falls into certain pitfalls that are maybe not readily apparent to most people, but it really changes the dynamic of what government is intended to do, right? A company, a business, what it's there for is to make a profit, at least in our system. It's there to make money. That's it. Okay?
Right.
The government doesn't have that as its highest goal. The government should be able to do things that aren't profitable, that are, again, losing money if they fit the interests of the people. And I think that while, yes, a balanced budget is good and something we should strive for, it is not, I think, the highest priority. So when we say run a government like a business, I think that that misses the point of what government is. So that's the first thing. Second thing.
Go ahead.
Second thing. The problem with what DOGE specifically is doing, audits, fair, fine, all for it. That's not all it's doing. It is unilaterally cutting things and trying to remove things, to delete things that Congress should be doing that. I'm okay with getting rid of some programs. That's fine. But the Congress, the legislative branch, should be the one to do that, not the executive.
Okay, that's a very good point. I get that. Are you familiar with any type of Argentinian politics, especially this Malay president that they got?
Not enough to have a big I'd be ignorant on it, honestly. I know a
Okay,
little, but I don't know a lot. I'm sorry.
fair. No, it's okay. All good. I was actually one of the people that backed up my word when it came to the elections in 2020. Like, if I didn't like the president that was gonna get in, and if I didn't like the policies, I'd give him like 2 years. But if I didn't like that, I was just gonna go, find somewhere else to live, which is why I'm here in Buenos Aires, Argentina right now. And I swear to you, a year ago, they just had their elections. The guy who got in is literally Trump 2.0. I mean, him and Trump are buddies. They like each other. They supported each other. So with that being said, one of the very first things that Malay did is exactly what the Doge is doing now. And just automatically slashing all these different government funded things. Some of them, the people here love. Others, they absolutely cannot stand. But looking into the market right now, which I'm very much into, especially into the real estate, it's in a gold rush right now. It may not look like it on paper, but in reality, in a year or two, stuff is going to be booming, which is actually why I'm staying here and doing my thing here.
Sure. I can't speak to Argentinians' way of doing things and whether or not what he did was okay or not, because I don't know the constitution of Argentina. I don't know if he was granted that powers by your. I don't know the division of power within that country. I just don't know. I also keep in mind, the United States is in a fairly good economic position, and Argentina, as I understand it, no offense, is not.
Oh yeah, it's
it's not.
Yeah,
it was
like,
aren't you guys
shit.
like got like inflation
No,
rates
no.
of like hundreds of percentage
Yes.
point? Like,
Yes. But this year they finally did the numbers and they're finally seeing a surplus for the first time in a year. So it's showing that whatever he did is actually
Actually,
working.
inflation.
So
sure.
Really.
I mean,
falls
again, like
somewhat
context matters
entirely.
in
Like,
these
it's really
things, and
gross
if
and
we
it
were
around,
in
like, 1,000.
if we were in a situation like Argentina, maybe, right? But
right.
we're not. So
Right. Fair enough.
I can't speak to that, right?
Think internationally, Wick.
I mean, yeah, at the end of the
Because
day,
of the
you kind of
world.
have to, at the end of the day, like, it depends on what you want in life, right? Especially when you're, do you want to travel? Do you want to stay in the country? I think getting more into not just our politics, but also, other countries' politics that we're in as well, kind of gives you a different perspective on things and, maybe have a better knowledge of how you would want a government to be run. instead of just relying on just what you know. You know what I mean?
Maybe not. I don't honestly. I understand that like people have different values and want different things out of government, but I think that we have to work we have to color within the lines to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the problems I'm having with Trump right now is he's
I
not.
think is what I think we want to get to is like ripping off the band-aid when it's not needed necessarily to rip off the band-aid in that way is more harm done than good.
I mean, I think that's what the concern is. Like, as in, why
just
people have a
if
problem
you
with
want
it.
to have like a tremor like economy, like Doge, like I don't know. I feel like you wanna
You,
balance.
I didn't understand a thing. Did you, Wick?
I don't know what you're talking about. No.
Yeah,
I'm
that you
talking about
kind of.
trimming down an economy. Like you say, like you want to balance. You want to like really not go too hard in one direction when you don't need to.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, you can't have everything in a balance either. Like,
But it's
something's gotta go.
pertinent to the state of the economy in Argentina. Like it was like if it's a dire situation where you need to make a decision versus in the states.
States of
Whereas, like, if you're
emergency
in
are
an
a different thing.
economic position, like is it warranted to go that sudden?
Yeah, states of emergency are.
Yeah,
completely
I'll just say
different
this. I'll just say this last thing because we got a couple other people want to get to, right?
thing. Okay, yeah, for sure.
Here's the deal, right? I think that at the end of the day, when it comes to Argentina, I think they are in a completely different situation, both economically and politically, than we are in the United States. So while it might be working, I don't know if it's working in Argentina. I'll have to take your word for it. I just don't know.
Right.
I don't think it would work in America. But thank you both for calling in. I hope you guys have a fun on the rest of your whatever you're doing.
Oh,
Okay.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having us.
Talking to people.
No problem. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Nice of them to stop by in the middle of their date. Come and say hi to Wick TV on his show. Couple more callers. You're live.
There we go.
Hi.
Hey, hold on. Let me turn that camera on. Was that week?
Not much. How are you?
All right, pretty good. You were talking to some gringos in Argentina, living in Argentina, but I'm Latin American, born and raised in Costa Rica. We just had the gracious coming of Marco Rubio here.
Okay.
Hey, we did some protest. Well, let me ask you something. Do you consider that right now Trump is playing with fire at trying to piss everybody off around the world?
I do think that Trump is creating chaos in the world for what I see as no good reason. I think the trade war, quote unquote, that we just had, is a good example of that. I think that the tariff threats that were used both on Mexico and Canada, while they got a couple things, they're very minor. Mostly it's just business as usual, and it just created a lot of fear, panic, and chaos for no good reason. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
In regards of the tariffs, would you consider that MAGA are actually contrary to what the Republican Party had been pushing forward since, I would say, Reagan era, or
Tariffs
we'll
are
go further back,
definitely
Nixon?
Sure, tariffs are definitely usually not a conservative thing. Tariffs are something conservatives, at least from most of the conservatives I've read and looked into, from an economic standpoint at least, are pretty anti-tariff, pretty pro-free trade. That's generally how they do it. Yes.
So what do you consider made this switch happen within the Republican Party that now we see protectionist MAGA, economically speaking?
Sure. Well, I think that this switch began long before Trump, actually. It began like around 2008, I would say, with the housing crisis, and that kind of acted as a spark, which set a lot of people, a lot of disaffected Democrats have become Trump supporters because they feel like the party apparatus, the status quo, if you will, whatever you want to call it, failed them in a lot of ways. In some ways, they're correct about that, to be clear. And through the Tea Party and other such things, they've been driven into this kind of populist mindset, this protectionist, isolationist, Fortress America kind of thing. And I think Trump has in many cases rode that wave, and that's where we are now. So we are in a situation where the people who are currently in charge of the Republican Party are protectionists and isolationists, and tariffs are something that those two ideologies tend to like.
Interestingly enough, if I make the following statement, I don't know if you would agree or not, but would you consider that what we're looking at, this regression to protectionism, isolationism in the United States, mirrors what was happening at the turn of last century, particularly between the end of the Civil War up till the First World War? And do you consider that they're doing this in such a way that it's productive to the interests of their own position, not only in the world, but internally as well?
I don't know about internally. I think this is unfortunately something that is popular enough to win elections. But when it comes to our position in the world, yes, I think that trade wars and isolationism and gutting of the USAID, for example, this kind of like turning inward and this withdrawal from the world stage is going to make us less effective overall as a world player. And I think that that is the opposite of the direction I'd like to go in, but it is the direction we're going in. So, yeah. As
I don't know if
for
you've heard.
comparisons to the end of the Civil War through the First World War, I am less inclined to make a lot of comments there simply because I am not a historian and I'm not like super duper familiar with the levels of play there. But I can talk about what's happening now.
Yeah, yeah. The reason I'm asking this question is because this is actually the first time you and I have a conversation. So it gives me kind of like a sense as to where we could be standing in that in many aspects. Because let me give you my basic analysis. Trump is to the United States what Hugo Chavez was to Venezuela, what Daniel Ortega is to Nicaragua, what Fidel Castro was to Cuba, what Videla was to Argentina, what Perón was to Argentina, what Pinochet was to Chile. It means that we are seeing in the United States the utter and complete deterioration of the bipartisan system of politics, where United States are not opening its democracy, has encountered one of the greatest milestones of that type of system, which is a complete and utter distrust on both parties and the appearance of the, should we call him the Caesar type of individual, the one that is given the keys to the city because of urgency, because of uh, invasion or war, and that Caesar type takes the keys and becomes the emperor.
I think you're overselling your hand a bit there, but I would agree with you that the Trump is pushing the boundaries in ways that we haven't seen before, or at least more excessively than we've seen before. I do think that our institutions are a little stronger than you might give them credit for, but I might be wrong. We'll see in the next year or so what will happen with that. I think a good test for Congress specifically is the USAID stuff. Is Congress going to put its foot down on this? And I think whether they do or not will have repercussions going forward and tell us a lot about what the next 4 years are going to be like. So I will say that. I I can't speak to your comparisons to other world leaders and countries. You listed off a lot, but I can say that yes, Trump is I won't say unique, but he is a particular figure in politics for the last 10 years that is going to have a huge impact going forward, even after he's gone. I don't think he's going to do anything like shut down elections or anything like that. I don't see that happening at all. But he has had an effect on how we do business in America, and he will continue to have an effect on how we do business in America. And for my opinion, for the worse, I think it's going to get worse. And that's my thoughts. Anything else? I do got a couple more I want to get to.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say before we let you go?
I do thank you, and if you ever need a Latin American analyst in regards of Latin America in relation to the United States, I mean, your Discord, I can always assist in that type of investigation. My background is I'm a law major. I also have majors and minors in anthropology, linguistics.
Do you practice law? Did you pass the bar?
Law in Latin America. I don't
Okay.
need to.
Oh, fair enough. I don't.
So
fair.
it's different in that sense.
Sure.
But I am also very studied in common law, and I do a lot of analysis in regards of comparison between normative eos positive law, which is the Greco-Roman principles applied into, versus common law, which is the least common of all laws. It's only practiced in about 25
Well,
countries.
Tell you what. And you don't have to answer this now, but just DM me. But I'm gonna have a show on Doge specifically next week, Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you want to be on it, you're more than welcome. It's gonna be a panel show. But you're more than welcome to join us and talk about Doge.
Yeah, sure. I love it.
DM and we'll talk about
DM
it.
you through.
Yep. But for now though, we're gonna let you go, buddy. And I'll.
Pura
see you
vida. Beshko woblaba. Walk with
Awesome.
your eyes open. Beshko woblaba. Pura vida.
I was gonna try to speak Spanish to the guy, but I don't know any Spanish. I don't want to embarrass myself. So no, very good discussion. Let's keep going. Hey, you're live.
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Hey, did you want to actually hear my gripes about USAID or no?
It's your 5 minutes of fame here. What do you want to talk about?
No, it's nothing about this USAID situation is going to be long standing. Obviously, it's we have the pause now. We're probably going to have the pause for a significant amount of time. Eventually, the challenges that come with it are going to be overturned. There's going to be legal challenges to come with everything going on, long-standing, to try and make an effort to whether or not Trump can continue to do this. However, I don't mind USAID necessarily getting a kick in the shins at this point in time. I don't expect it to mount to much, but I do appreciate that it's got eyes on it right now. If that makes sense.
Again, yeah, I understand wanting to have an audit, wanting to have it looked at and discussed, and the conversation is more than perfectly acceptable to me. I just don't think that the way Trump is going about it is, frankly, legal. It's just not. And we'll get that.
Well, he does have hold on 1 second. He does have some authority.
Bro, we've never seen camera audacity. Okay, at least this is my first time. Usually you're just the voice, but go on.
Yeah, I bought one just for you, man.
Aw, you're sweet.
He does have some authority to put pause or hold on funding and funds. I get the point of wanting an audit. Somebody down the line, someone earlier today made a good point that, hey, an audit could happen, but it's going to get brushed aside, pushed to the wind. We haven't exactly had a good scorecard when it comes to audits. We haven't exactly had a good running theme with we've investigated ourselves and found nothing wrong, that type of deal. I think
sure. I don't necessarily mind an outside kind of entity such as DOGE doing
Right.
that
blood.
necessarily. I mean, look, I got problems with his leadership. Obviously, I don't think it's going to be effective, but I don't, in principle, have an issue with it. My issue, again, is with them deciding to not only audit but then delete different programs and then just cut funding and things like that. They said that they
Right.
deleted, for example, the direct file thing that the that was
Yeah, I don't like
yeah,
the lack of
it's
transparency on that. I don't like
seems
that Elon
silly.
Musk goes out onto Twitter and just says, "Yeah, we deleted that department." I'm like, okay, why?
Yeah, there was
What
no
did you
debate, no
find?
discussion, nothing. Like they haven't sold this to the people. That's why it's important that Congress be the one to defund these things if it needs defunding, because we do get a level of discussion that the American public can be involved in. I don't like the fact that we have this guy who no one voted for having this amount of power over our tax dollars. I don't like it.
I wouldn't necessarily say he has any amount of power over it. He doesn't have authority to execute anything. He's still in assessment advisement role. Anything that gets done. So for things like the Treasury, the direct file system, whatever he finds regarding that has to get reported up to the head of the Treasury Department. Then the decision's made whether or not to cut it or not. Could he have a heavy amount of influence over those decisions? Yeah. So there is some authority argument to be made there. However, he's not just directly cutting people from payroll or deleting systems out of it. However, transparency needs to be bolstered if Trump expects to have any kind of success with this program. Otherwise, the Office, God, is it Office of Government Ethics or what have you? It's the ethical oversight board essentially for government employees, government operations. If they're gonna drop a hammer on Elon Musk, should he not clean up his act and the act of his supposed department as well? So
Are they though? Well, that's my concern, because I think a lot of and I don't blame so much Elon for this, because I do a little, right? But I think that my ire is directed at those agencies, institutions, and powers that be that are currently ceding their responsibility and not stepping in when they should absolutely step in, just because it might be politically problematic, or they might run afoul of the Trump administration and these things. Like these entities that we have, such as the one you mentioned, the Office for Ethics, and I forget the acronym exactly.
yeah, we have various
Right.
oversights on this.
They need to do their job, frankly.
Yeah.
And they need to take, give their balls a tug, step up, and get it done. But I don't see that happening yet. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it does. But we'll find out.
Yeah, we're
right?
dealing with a shockwave here. It is happening very quickly, and our government is usually not very quick to respond to emergent issues. But anyway, my gripes with USAID and why I'm okay with them being, getting a kick in the shin.
Okay.
I don't necessarily want USAID gone. I have a problem with them and the way they are permitted to operate, I should say. A big problem I have with USAID is that there have been certain provisions built into USAID that have prevented success in America's support of developing other nations. A big one, I believe it's referenced in the movie War Machine, had to do with not supporting the development of certain crops or manufacturing that could directly compete with U.S. manufacturers and agricultural sectors as well. This is why you had the poppy cash crop in Afghanistan, and this would eventually become the cash crop of terrorist organizations like Al Qaeda and ISIS, essentially. So the mismanagement of USAID and the overall ineffectiveness of USAID has, I don't want to say it's done more harm than good, but it's done a considerable amount of bad.
Sure.
if you
I
catch
would
my
agree. It's a multi-decade program that has its fingers in a lot of pies. It would shock me if there wasn't any corruption or
Yeah.
badness in it, right? It would be like very unique among government programs. My problem with like my issue with lessening US aid is that China specifically, and Russia to a lesser extent now, has similar programs and initiatives that are going on with internationally as we speak, and any cessation of influence that we any influence that we withdraw from the world is simply going to be filled in by these other powers. And I think that that's going to be bad for us. It's going to make it harder for us to compete on a world stage and harder for Americans to grow wealth, power, and influence. And I don't want to see that happen. So while, yes, you're absolutely correct, I think that there are provisions and there are changes that can be made and should be made within USAID. Getting rid of it, gutting it, I don't think that's the way. I think
Yeah,
that's mistaken.
I don't. It. We definitely need to have an external influence. It is important. However, with the way USAID is structured right now, we are only destined to be outpaced by China's initiatives. They have an incredible capability of putting the development of infrastructure that countries they would seek to do business with find very attractive. Building roads, hospitals, schools, etc., etc. Even if the workforce that gets put into nations like Africa, various countries within Africa, to extract cobalt in horrendous conditions, it doesn't matter because the government of those nations are happy to have the basic infrastructure that China comes in, builds in, supplies as well with the immediate financial success of China's endeavors to extract resources and everything.
Well, China. Let's be clear. China has its own issues, right? Let's not make their paper tiger too scary. It is
Yeah,
a cause
but
for concern. But like when we talk about corruption, right?
Mhm.
If you look at China, it's got a lot.
It's a little
So
obvious. But it's not just that, we could just, they're a paper tiger, they're not all that serious. They do have
that's true.
the ability, a tremendous ability for expedience and aggression. They make more attractive offers than we can with our programs and with our abilities. And China could strike a deal with a nation in Africa today and have everything built by the end of 2 weeks from now. Whereas in USA could offer
We have a lot more red
infrastructure.
tape. We have a lot more.
Right, because every dollar, every cent, every
yeah.
penny goes through audit and reporting and accounting for, which makes sense. We should do that. I guess it really comes down to a question of, are we okay as a nation if we want to make our influence more effective? Do we kind of get rid of some of the bureaucracy at hand? Is that a possible outcome? Do you think that would be a possible outcome?
Go through Congress.
Yeah,
it's an important question to ask. But that's the thing. We can't have the executive branch just unilaterally deciding for us.
Right.
This is a question that should be discussed and debated among our representatives that we elect. And I think that the executive branch, while he has some power over these foreign affairs and things like that, by all means, right? I do think that, again, just to tie it back, because I do have a couple other people I need to get to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that overall, the way that they're doing this USAID thing, while there might be some benefits, like you said, such as creating conversation, I think there are other ways to do that wouldn't have created this chaos and kind of crisis isn't the word I'm looking for, but it's close.
Yeah, it's a kerfuffle of sorts.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's posit the question: do you see this attention, this chaos? Do you see anything good possibly, stemming from it?
yes, if under certain conditions. I think that if Congress gets its acts together, they can really set a boundary with Trump, and I think they win that fight if they fight it. If they choose to fight it, they'll win. And
Yeah.
if they do so, that's great because it suddenly sets a boundary and a limit and a hard line that say you cannot pass this. I think that's important, especially in the coming days. And also, I think, again, a national conversation about USAID is important. We could talk about how we want to go about engaging at the world stage through this program, and that's worth discussion. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for posing the
Hey,
question.
man. I'll be seeing you.
And I'll talk to you later. What a nice gentleman. He's been on our show a couple times, but we haven't had his face yet. He looks like a normal guy. It's always weird when I see people for the first time that I've talked to a while, and I don't know what they look like. And I always have this like idea in my head of what they look like. And then when I see them, seeing how close I was, it's very interesting. Very interesting. No offense, Audacity, but I thought you were a lot fatter than you actually turned out to be. You sound fat, but that's okay. You're not. Okay. Zero Fuck says, too bad I look like a hideous monster. It's okay. I look like a hideous monster too. Okay, what do you want? Your life. Hello. Beautiful. Okay. Hello, you're live. Oh, you gotta mute the stream.
Oh.
Mute the
Hear
stream.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's up?
Not much. Just wanted to ask you a quick question. Did you ever feel like you lived through the decline of America so fast?
I think we're at a tipping point now, and I do worry that us.
Now? I think we passed the tipping point. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Elaborate on that.
Well, I mean, it's just what was it? I would say over the last 4 years since, well, actually, I'm sorry. Since 2016, we've been living through the decline of both of the conservative movement, and we can't live in a country with a good body politic where we have a give and take on both sides when one side is fucking insane and the other is just like has to do everything. Like for the last since Democrats took the majority in 2018, we as a party have been responsible for managing and governing the country when the conservative party just like does nothing. They get up there, they do other little shows, and they spew their talking points about how we're all socialist, communist, fascist, DEI, like gonna trans your kids, and they don't do jack shit, essentially.
I mean, you say that, right? And I agree with you to a certain extent, but they are absolutely doing things right now. Whether you like it or not, they are absolutely busy at this point in time getting things done. Whether you like what they're doing or not, right?
Yeah, but the problem is they're not governing. There's a difference between doing things and governing. And the conservatives haven't known how to govern since 2016. And Trump absolutely will not have anyone who is even remotely competent. I mean, fuck, Pete Hegseth, you're a veteran. How do you feel about Pete Hegseth, being the first ever DUI hire for the Department of Defense?
I wouldn't have voted for him if it was up to me. But
I mean, what was it? Pete Hegseth, I think, unironically, a mouth-breathing ASVAB Weber retard. Like, I'm surprised he was able to pass basic training.
Oh, look, I see a lot of people pass basic training. I'm not surprised. Doesn't take much. Let's say that. But yeah, it's Jen. I don't think he would have been my choice. I think there were much better. There were far better options available. Why settle for mediocrity when we could have someone who is the best? possible candidate, but again, not up to me. I will say this, right? I think that you are a little more pessimistic than I am. I think that I'll just say it outright. I think what the Republicans are currently doing is going to bite them in the ass. I think that people are going to see it. They're going to feel the effects of it. And they're not going to like it very much. I think it's going to hurt us on a world stage. It's going to hurt us economically. And when voting time comes around again, people are going to put put their votes appropriately. I think that a lot of ways the Democrats have not done a good job, frankly, or good enough job in certain ways. And I think we need to get our act together on that so that the next time we do have power, we can demonstrate that we are good stewards of it. Because the problem that I'm seeing recently, by recently I mean the last 10 years, is that both sides kind of suck at being stewards of power for various reasons. Like, again, I preferred Biden to Trump by 1,000 million times, but I think Biden did some great things, but he could have done more. And I think that
I want to push back on that.
Yeah, that's fine, but let me finish. And
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
sorry.
that the biggest problem that Democrats have and still have, and we need to fix it, is we have terrible, terrible messaging, and we need to figure out a way to fix that shit. Because what we're doing in communicating that, it's just not working. But go ahead, push back.
Oh, so yeah, I agree with you on the messaging part, but you're assuming something, and I don't blame you for assuming this. I used to think this too. You assume that people actually care about policy, and what they really care about are slogans. And unfortunately, Republicans exist only in slogans. I'm sorry, not Republicans, because I assume that they're like classic conservative Republicans who have principles and values. MAGA doesn't give a fuck about anything that unless Daddy Trump says so. So, for instance, they will never hold any of their people accountable for anything unless Trump says they're a bad person, in which case they're thrown under the bus, and then everyone else is just like, oh, what could we ever have possibly seen? We just, took it on good faith. Oh, anyway, the Democrats want to train your kids. And that's what they're going to do. They do not take accountability for anything. And they just message their way through it. But, like, for instance, like, Democrats will tear apart their own for, like, the smallest infraction. Do you remember, was it Senator Al Franken from Minnesota?
I do.
Do you remember what he got canceled for?
Yes, for some accusations that he put his hands where he would, like, on someone's hip on one lady. There's also a picture that was out where he was, from when he was a politician, where he was making, like, the booby grabby motion on some lady.
Those are from when he was a stand-up comedian, I think, during a USO show.
Yeah.
From, like, 15 years prior.
Yeah, it's I think that the way that they forced him out was something that shouldn't have happened. I think that Al Franken deserved and he wanted his day in the ethics committee, right? For them to go through and he could have his day in court, quote unquote. And I think he should have had that. But unfortunately, the Democrats decided to kind of throw him under the bus, and that was a mistake.
Yeah. And so part of our problem as a Democratic Party, and quite frankly, anyone on the left side of the spectrum, is that we hold our people accountable for, like, stuff as, like, childish as that, no matter how far away it was or how long ago it was. But, like, for conservatives, it's just like they're allowed to get up on stage, crap their pants, and we're supposed to take them seriously. We can't exist in a country where
I don't take them seriously if they crap their pants.
Well, no, yeah, but they're still treated as a major political party with valid political ideas, and we have to live in that media environment. Like, have you ever like, I'm sure you've seen a Piers Morgan Uncensored, right?
Honestly, never won all the way through. I've seen clips.
Yeah, so, like, if you ever watch a Piers Morgan panel show, basically it's, they have maybe one Democrat center left guy, and then 3 anti-establishment, some on the left, some on the right, and all they do is just beat on the establishment. Joe Biden's terrible, blah 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 blah. Trump is the golden age, blah 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 blah. And Piers Morgan will just run cover for the conservatives and never question them critically on anything. But we as Democrats, center-left Democrats, have to have every idea fleshed out, have to have every idea well considered, have to give concessions and be reasonable.
I don't
But
think
conservatives are just allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. And we can't live in a country like that. I'm sorry, we can't.
Well, luckily we don't have to. I think that we don't need. Excuse me. Again, I'm congested. Coming down from an illness.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, man. I hope you feel better.
It's fine. You're fine. I'm getting. This is me improved, right? I'm just explaining while it's taking me a minute to actually say something. My issue here with what you're saying is you're painting it out as if we have to be perfect and they can just do whatever the fuck they want. And that's not true. I don't think we have to be perfect at all. The problem is we are so down underwater in our ability to message and appeal to the common voter that there are people who literally could crap their pants on stage that are beating us. And that's not because they are like master 40 chess movers. It's just because the common voter does not like us, and we have turned them off so much that it's a toss-up every election whether they vote for the guy crapping his pants on stage or a Democrat, right?
Mhm.
And there's a lot of reasons why we've gotten into this position, and a lot of it is a failure to run on any specific coherent economic policy. We have a lot of culture war issues that we try to put forth. We have a lot of, it's some really good ones, by the way, infrastructure type of deals, but we fail to be able to translate it into how it's going to affect the common, average, everyday citizen's pocketbook and well-being. And until we can figure out a way to do that, we're going to continue to be a toss-up every election. But I think we can. I think we can have a robust, broad, appealing economic message to the common voter that is in line with democratic values, plays to our strengths, and creates a coalition that can win. We just can't get distracted by bullshit while we try to do this. And I fear that that's what's happening, right? We get distracted by bullshit, and we get tricked into the culture war fights, and we shouldn't, but we are.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. And part of that needs to be, we need to find people who are kind of like, the farthest left we can go is just like mildly progressive, and then everyone else needs to be purged from the party because they are fucking cancer. Especially the people who are just like, who were literally just soft on shoplifting crime, which is a major issue in the cities. These people need to be purged. The people who think that, oh, it's just shoplifting, it's no big deal, LOL. Corporations can just absorb it, LOL. They need to be thrown out of the party, and we need to tell them, you're not welcome here. We also, and quite frankly, we should have done this a long time ago, told the people who are like making ridiculous arguments about trans people in sports that you are ridiculous, you are cancer, we disavow you. And also, we need to stop letting conservatives set the tone for like how we engage with issues and broader culture, because we just allow them to just do whatever they want and say whatever they want and never push back critically on them. And we grant them the good grace that they're going to be, good faith actors when they are always going to be malevolent actors. And this is proven time and time again with the tenant media stuff. I mean, fucking Dave Rubin and Tim Pool have the fucking nerve to get on any show and say, "Oh well, I'm just a middle of the roads guy, and I'm not. I just I'll call things how I see them. No, I'm 100%. My opinions are my own." Meanwhile, they both take like $5 million each from the Russian government to spew anti-American propaganda. Like, this is ridiculous.
Well,
This is
part
absurd.
of the reason, right? Part of the issue in this a little personal to me. Okay. We on my side for personal power, let me say this, okay? Because this goes to the overall topic I did want to discuss a little bit today about how Democrats can win and what we should be doing. And part of that is identifying the problem. The problem we have in politics today, at least among the Democrats, is that what wins us individual power, prestige, influence, etc., in our own small circles, in our localities, if you will, is a
Mhm.
different set of things, a different set of behaviors than what wins nationally and when it comes to actual elections, right? So when it's
Mhm.
actually time to vote, basically. What wins for the influence is being as acidic as we can, with being as purgy as we can, with being as cruel as we can, painting the other side to be as batshit as we can. These get a lot of the choir to stand up and cheer, right? They will throw money at you. They will throw accolades at you. They will give you all sorts of attention. They will put you in positions of power within the party, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But that kind of behavior is poison to us on a national level. It's poison to us on an electoral level. People don't like that kind of behavior that aren't already choir boys or choir girls. We don't judge here, okay? And I think that until we can figure out a way to separate these incentive structures, it's a problem. The Republicans don't have this this big of an issue, right? They're like for I'll use the Tim Pool money thing, the tenant media thing, right, as an example. Most Republicans didn't really care that their influencers are getting paid. By oh my, one 67 viewer on YouTube, 30 viewer on Twitch, political streamer called Wick TV gets a paycheck from Progressive Victory, and a lot of the left loses their fucking minds, right? And just watching the difference in reaction between these two things from their parties is it was amusing to me. It was amusing to me.
No, I agree 100%. But I think you're making two fundamental flaws in your thinking. One is that the toxicity is those are the rules of the road now. Conservatives have set the rules of the road. Political violence is okay. Cheering at is okay. You know, laughing and making fun at the when something bad happens to your political opponent is okay, and then like I have to bring it back to the Destiny thing when he tweeted making fun of that firefighter in Pennsylvania. They flipped out and lost their fucking minds. Meanwhile, these same motherfuckers were like tweeting about how was it Pelosi's gay lover was beating him in the head with a hammer over a lover spat, and we were supposed to be like, oh, it's just a joke, bro, lol. But when the tables turn on them, it's suddenly like their pearls have never been clutched so hard. And also to go back to what you to kind of wrap it up with what you said about you having the platform that you do being criticized because you took a paycheck or take a paycheck. I'm not sure where you stand with that.
Oh, they after the election they just stopped paying us because our contract
Okay.
ended after the election.
No. I mean, that makes sense. The election's over. Everyone's
Yep.
kind of on cooldown right now. But yeah, no. And you doing what you do with Progressive Victory is just like suddenly, oh, we're supposed to be above that. But those people don't really give a shit. They're hobbyists.
Well, no,
I would
they
wager.
get
I would
no. It's
wager.
not that much. They do care. It's because they care because turning on your own and being the one true leftist gets you power and influence, right?
Yes,
Being
but
able
those, yes.
to tear down other democratic leftists, etc., gets you power and influence in a way that it
Yeah.
doesn't happen on the right, or at
I
least
guess
not to
what
the
I should
extent.
say. I guess what I should say is that those people weren't weren't Democrats, they were illiberals. And illiberals, like you said, are only interested in their virtue signal as they tweet from their, fucking upper middle class house with whose mom and dad are like bankers and lawyers about how socialism is the one true way. Because let's face it, they're never gonna like face any real adversity if like a conservative runs the country or a Democrat runs the country. They're just going to be insulated because they're wealthy. And when you have no stakes, you don't really care. You just have luxury beliefs. Like shoplifting is just fine because corporations are evil, bro. And um, DEI is really just like reparations because 80 years ago we had segregation because capitalism is bad. So I mean, those people they're not worth listening to.
I think
and their
the
opinions.
long and short of it is we need to drop the policies that are unpopular and adopt popular policies.
Well,
And then
I mean,
message effectively.
the popular policies of what Democrats have always stood for: workers' rights, economic fairness, and liberal values like private property and respecting other people's religion. We if Democrats just go back to the center on those things, with maybe a little bit of gun
I think
stuff
we have
in there, we'd be
Fetterman doing
fine.
that. Like people like Shapiro and Fetterman, the governor of PA, not Ben Shapiro gang, Josh Shapiro and Fetterman. I think that they are providing a good blueprint for how Democrats win in the future. Because again, I don't agree with everything they do, to be clear, right?
Agreed.
However, I think that they are both wildly popular in Pennsylvania. On a bipartisan level. A lot of Republicans respect and vote for Shapiro and Fetterman that also voted for Trump. And I think that it is a step in the right direction because a lot of Trump voters, and I'll give you this, at least in this last cycle, so in the 2024, a lot of Trump voters weren't cultists, if you want to say. They were just people who thought Harris was a far worse option. And I think that if we could just provide them what they view as a better option, they'll come back to us. Harris obviously wasn't that, but I think we can in the future. I don't think it's particularly hard, but we have internal pressures and incentives that are making it harder than it should be. But I do have like one more guy I have to get to, so I do have to let you go, buddy.
Absolutely. And thank you for hosting me. It was a pleasure talking with you. I hope to do so again soon.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Bye-bye. Okay. If you want the Discord, and some of you are asking for the link, give me a second. Oh, no. Hey, can one of my mods, can you put a Discord link in the YouTube? Here, see if this works. I do want to get to a couple other things, so I'll only do like one more call in for now, unless someone cool calls in. But yeah. Hi, you're live. Hello. You're muted on your end, sir or ma'am.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. What do you got?
Not much. Appreciate you having me. Not gonna be on camera though, because I'm on the job and I don't play. So doing two things at once. So if you hear clicking, it's nobody clicking. I wanted to ask you, biggest concern that I have right now is the fact that there's only one real entity that has the ability to punish what Musk is doing right now. Is that your understanding too?
There's a couple. Again, I'm not terribly familiar with this, but like the OSC, the Office for Ethics, State Ethics, or something like that, and there's another entity as well. And Congress has the ability, as well as the executive branch has the ability. But those are those are so yeah. There's more than one entity, is what I'm saying. There's several avenues at play here.
I didn't really know because the way I'm looking at it is, I mean, mostly I'm thinking of what DOJ and FBI, who is basically controlled by Trump, and if there's any law that's broken, Trump's obviously just going to pardon whoever's doing it if it's in his favor. Do you have any concerns about that?
I mean, yeah, well, obviously, there's concerns about
Okay.
that, but
I mean,
it's
I
one of those
just
things where,
wanted to.
like, I think if it becomes, I do think there's limits on this, where people simply won't stand for it anymore if it gets egregious. We'll see.
Yeah. My concern is really like, what are they going to do? I really think that they're in the phase of like, come at me, bro.
Well,
'Cause
it's
that's the
been
vibe I'm
what?
getting.
It's February 2nd. It's been 2 weeks. We don't know yet. They are moving very quickly with some executive orders as well as the DOGE program. But as we've said earlier in the program, I don't think that the DOGE stuff will stand. I don't think it passes constitutional muster. I think it gets overturned in the courts relatively quickly, even. So I think that they're going for a pause and an audit right now. The audit probably will stand. The audit's fine, and it's within the purview of the people doing it. However, I think the removal of funding and the deleting of programs, that has to be done through Congress, and it's not being done through Congress, and that's going to be stopped. They'll put a stop to that. I'm predicting. I don't know if that'll be within a couple months or more, but it will go through the courts and it will be addressed. And I have every confidence that it will be ruled in our favor based on the people I've been talking to. So, yeah.
I like your optimism. I mean, I
I could be
also
wrong.
agree that
Right.
they might even agree though that it'll be overturned. But at the end of the day, you also need the weapon to require them forcibly to not do this stuff, and
Well,
that's
if they keep,
where I'm.
that's the courts, right? The courts at least have.
But the courts don't control the FBI. They have no legal mandate to tell the FBI what to do. The FBI is not gonna jump in the IRS building. They're not gonna jump
Okay,
in
but
whatever
more
sort of government
than
building.
the it doesn't have to come from the Department of Justice. As long as it's taken up by the courts, anything withstanding can go through the court system. So even a private citizen can, if they have evidence and they bring it to the courts, it can go through that process and be heard and be adjudicated as such.
I just hope that the institutions that stood strong once will continue.
Hopefully.
Um, I'm Before I was cautiously optimistic. Right now I'm cautiously skeptical. That's all. I just want to
We'll
get your
see.
vibe.
I'm in we'll see mode. Look, there's no reason to panic at this point in time. Panic's not going to help. Panic does no good. Panic, in fact, gives them what they want. Keep a level head, watch what they do, and use the
Oh yeah,
powers that we
be
have.
prepared for
And
everything.
we haven't. Here's my concern. I'll give you my concern, okay? Because I am concerned. I don't want to say that I'm not. I think that
That's actually part of why I want to bring it up because it throughout so far you didn't seem concerned, and that concerned me.
well, my concern, and I think I expressed this earlier, but I'll be more clear, is that Congress will abdicate its responsibility, and abdicate its power and give up without a fight. I worry that they're just going to bend the knee when in the they're going to give the executive branch their power, and they don't need to, and they shouldn't do that. And in fact, the Congress needs to stand up for themselves and say, no, you don't get to do this. This isn't within your purview. This isn't your job. It's our job. So stop. And I think they can and should do that. I worry that they won't because of a lot of reasons, but that is
not
what they should
sold
do.
on it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Anything
Well,
else?
appreciate you having me on.
No, no
I
problem.
mean, not for now.
Okay. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
What about
Yeah, look, before I bring in the last caller, and we are going to make that the last caller, right? Because I want to talk to you guys without having to deal with callers. But like, there's a couple things that have been brought up that I wanted to get to before we get off track, right? Let's start with this one, right? Like, what avenues and mechanisms do Democrats have in place right now in order to push back against things that the Trump administration are doing that we feel are things we don't want them to do? There's a few things that we have. There's a few powers that the minority in this country has to deal with the majority. We have the filibuster, thank God, right? To stop them from passing legislation in these things. When it comes to executive orders that are unlawful, such as the DOGE stuff that's going on right now, I think that, again, the courts generally consistently side with the Constitution on this kind of thing, and I think that we can and should be pushing things through those mechanisms in order to put the kibitz on the dismantling of our government through those mechanisms. But it will require us to actually do it, right? We actually have to do it. So do it, right? And we can, and we should, and it will win. We just got to do it. I think another tool that we have that is more long-term focused, well, long-term in politics being the next year or two, okay, is we should point out these excesses and these violations, and we should use that as a tool in order to persuade those who may not have voted last time or may have voted for, like, held their nose and voted for Trump because they thought Harris would be worse, et cetera, et cetera. I think we can win those people back fairly easily, especially with the amount of overplaying their hand the Republicans are doing right now. People aren't going to like it. Also, and this is my optimism, right? If things continue to go the route they're going, if this is kind of what the Republicans are doing from now on and the ways they're doing it, I think the Republicans lose power really quickly. Midterms come, I think we get the the House back at least. I'd have to see who's up for re-election on the Senate to be able to give a good prediction there, but the House we just win. And I think that when it comes to the next presidential election, I think we got that too. Again, assuming. Here's the thing about politics, though. Lots can change, lots can happen. But what we are going to see, if these policies and the way that they're acting continues, is we are going to see America become weaker than it ever has been on the international stage. We are also going to begin to feel the effects of that weakness, with China overtaking a large swath of influence in the world because we have withdrawn from even attempting to influence the international development of other countries and things like that, even attempting to build relationships with other countries and to help them out. We are going to isolate ourselves, and that's going to come with all the penalties that such behavior has. Goods are going to get more expensive across the board. Housing is going to become more expensive. Manufacturing is going to become more expensive. Food is going to become more expensive. It's going to be harder to obtain a lot of goods and services. It's just going to become worse overall, and it's going to hurt everyone. There's going to be a lot of pain. And that sucks. But the result will be, they're just, people are going to realize that the Republicans are poor stewards of power, and they're going to vote for Democrats again. Now, it's incumbent on Democrats to actually get, like, a proper, coherent policy to fix things, okay? This is a problem the Democrats have constantly, okay? And we need to fix this problem. We have a problem with providing coherent, specific, focused policies that we can run on, okay? Fetterman, I'm going to keep using him as an example because he keeps doing this right, okay? Fetterman recently ran on or implemented a infrastructure plan for roads, railways, and stuff within Pennsylvania, and he cited the incident with the Ohio-Palestine issue, right? You guys remember a few years ago that train derailment and things like that? And he's putting his political power and influence into fixing the real problems we have with the infrastructure system in Pennsylvania. And people want that. It's going to help us. It's going to make life better for everyone in Pennsylvania. We need to pick things like that and focus on them, champion them, run on them, use them as our banner, and move forward. What we can't do, and what we keep doing, is we can't get caught in this kind of culture war-y trap that Republicans set for us all the time, right? And arguing about bathrooms and things like that. Or in sports, trans sports issues. We can't get caught in that. We can still advocate for that, but that can't be our banner issues, and we shouldn't allow them to be our banner issues. So anytime someone tries to use that as a say, this is what Democrats want, we should be able to clearly, coherently say, no, this is our messaging. This is what we want. Here's how we're going to make your life better. Everyone's life's better, economically, academically, and socially. And this is how we're going to do it. This is a bill that we're proposing. This is the policies that we want established. And this is how it'll benefit you directly. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. But we get distracted, and it's hurting us overall. What are you guys saying? Sorry, again, I'm a little mind fogged right now because of coming down from illness, but get chickens, Wick. I got chickens, actually. You guys want to see some chickens? The center needs to form a wedge party. What does that mean? Tony Steele says, so you will be okay, or will you be okay when they start sending U.S. prisoners to foreign jails? No. I don't think that's a good idea. The Testicle Spectacle says, you guys want to see some chickens? Is that euphemism for something kinky? No, it's that the neighbors have chickens, and I get their eggs sometimes. And those eggs are delicious. Well, it's dark out. You can't see him right now, gang. Like 7 o'clock. Or almost 8. So it's dark. You can't see him. I do think that we need to really get back to our roots as Democrats, right? And become the party of the working class again. We're not, in a way. We have, at some point between the 90s and today, we have switched to the academic elite. We are championing very niche, elitist sort of causes. And to be clear, I agree with some of those causes. Okay? I think those are good causes. But we have made the mistake of championing those at the expense and the detriment of other causes that would help a blanket group of people, right? I think DEI was a mistake. And the insistence on DEI initiatives in all sorts of cultural kind of places amongst the left has been to our detriment. Now, that isn't to say that the way that the right has handled DEI is honest or good. And I have real problems with how people on the right are If there is a woman that exists, they point to them and say, DEI, DEI. If there's a black person that exists, they point to them and say, DEI, DEI. They're really retarded on that, and that's gross. But there is a real issue. Underneath all that crap, there is a real issue with the way DEI has been implemented and the whole principles and policies underlying it that has hurt us and will continue to hurt us unless we simply say, no, this is the wrong way to go. We need to go back to colorblindness as opposed to whatever this is. I think we overstepped in a real way, and we need to just stop doing that. But the problem is we double down all the time. Look, here's another issue that I think we need to address. I made a post, and I'll bring this up, actually. I'll bring this up. Hold on. I made a post, I saw a post, okay, that shocked me. It frankly shocked me that people have this take. But I see it more and more. More and more and more. I see a lot of people on the left have this take. And I worry because if this is the takeaway, I think that we're going to, even if what I said earlier about me being optimistic that we're just going to win if the Republicans keep doing what they do, they're going to give us a run for our money again if we go down this path. And it's going to be neck and neck when it shouldn't be. And I will be so angry. Here's the tweet. I think the quote-unquote dark woke stuff had to happen eventually because the liberal side of the culture war has not been overtly cruel enough to fit into American politics. Now, what dark woke means, for those of you who are unfamiliar with this relatively new term, it's the idea is to be as cruel as possible while being woke, to call people slurs while being woke, to harass people while being woke, right? To be cruel, frankly, while being woke. And this is something that more and more on the left, I see people agreeing with this take, trying to support this take and run with this take. And again, if we do this, gang, and I want to be clear, then no matter how badly the Republicans govern in the next 2 to 4 years, they're going to be competitive with us. One of the reasons, and it's not the only reason, you may not even say it's the main reason, but it is a reason, and it is I think, a larger reason than many would like to admit on the left, that we are in the position we are today as Democrats is because of the cruelty of the people on the left to those who disagreed with them. I made this take on Twitter, right? Let's see, I made this take. Yeah, this exact take. The reason we are in the situation we are is the absolute cruelty many on the left have engaged in over the years, right? And so many people came after me for this take, right? Saying, how could you possibly say that? We haven't been cruel at all. And I would posit to you, dear viewer, if you don't think the left has been cruel over the last 10 or so years, you haven't been paying attention. The fact that we have used doxing, harassment, getting people fired from their jobs, getting people banned from campuses, getting people banned off internet platforms, and things, as a matter of course, for merely disagreeing with us, is a huge issue. It's cruel, right? You may say, well, the Republicans do it too, and yes, they do. Yes, they do. But us engaging in this has made it harder for anyone to see a real difference between our parties and our behavior. And I think that's a real problem. Again, I think the Republicans are worse at this. But to say that we haven't engaged in this behavior is simply memory holing a huge amount of behaviors that have existed on the left for a long time now. And it's something we can't, if we double down on that and try to go harder on that, it's just going to be pushing more people away. And we don't need to do that right now. I get the appeal for a certain type, right? There's a certain type of leftist or a Democrat who sees the cruelty of the right, and they just wish that they could do that too. One, they can, and they have been. But two, if you want so badly to act like a Republican, just become a Republican, okay? There's a reason I don't vote Republican. Why would anyone think that that's acceptable behavior? To be cruel for cruelty's sake. It's unacceptable behavior. It's not okay. I don't care if the other side's doing it. And I would posit that to the extent that they have had electoral success as of late, it has not been because they have been cruel. It has been despite the fact that they are cruel. Because, one, we ran weak candidates. Two, our messaging is dog shit. And three, members of our coalition have been exceedingly cruel as well, and it makes it hard for people to really see a difference. Now, do I think there is a difference? Yes. But these are the reasons. Again, anyone who thinks that we should become dark woke or whatever, you're not on my team. I want to win. You want to be mean. $5 from Audacity. The dark woke is worse than that. It's the justification of cruelty for the sake of believing that progressive beliefs are default good. But I will always oppose cruelty in these cases, right? I will always oppose this kind of behavior, whether it comes from the other side or my side. I think that we absolutely, as a moral issue, right? And I really do believe this, as a moral issue, we cannot engage in cruelty. It is wrong. It is not beneficial. It's not going to help us. And even if we did, we shouldn't do it. I don't know. Watch out for Darkwick. Look, when I say Darkwick, I am not meaning I'm going to be cruel. What I mean by Darkwick is I'm going to let my anger show. And I think that there's a difference there. Like, well, recently, if we want to get to it, hold on. Yeah, we could talk about that for a moment. Give me a second. I won't spend too much time on this because, frankly, it doesn't deserve that much time. Okay? But this is we had a panel last week on Thursday going over the question, right? To what extent should we ignore bad behavior on our side if it benefits us politically, or if we think it might benefit us politically, right? And the lens we used to do that was Destiny's recent actions, his deplorable behavior, and what he did, the gross violations of consent that he engaged in by leaking nudes and other things of other streamers. Yeah, that was gross, right? That he did that. But it did start a conversation that I thought had an interesting question to be asked. So we did a conversation on it. We hosted a conversation on it. And, of course, we have a Mr. Girl here. Took issue with it. And this is what he has to say. He says, 2 days ago, Wick TV hosted a community panel of men arguing about whether Destiny is so politically important that progressives should ignore his, bold text, sex crimes against your female colleagues. You people are fucking delusional and deranged. Take 5 seconds and imagine how it would feel to listen to people make excuses for your abuser using his speech patterns and talking points. So here's the deal, right? I do not take criticism from people I would never take advice from. If you don't like the conversations I have, You don't have to watch it. But there was nothing wrong with hosting that discussion. There was nothing wrong with talking about it, and I stand by my work. But this constant need to weaponize the trauma of the people who've been hurt, right, in order to get your dunks in, to go after your political enemies, right? Notice he didn't have anything to say about my take. Notice that none of them ever do, because my take was been, frankly, what Destiny did was condemnable, deplorable, indefensible. Straight up. But they have to try to come at me obliquely at an angle saying, well, you had the conversation. Just imagine if you were watching this conversation and you were one of the victims affected. Imagine watching people arguing with them. Well, turn off the TV. Turn the channel. Go elsewhere. It's okay to have hard conversations. And I do get a little annoyed when people try to come at me for just talking about something like that. But again, I won't spend too much time on it because, frankly, it doesn't deserve that much time. But yeah. Ew, he's lurking. You know, they probably do watch my show because it's actually entertaining, unlike whatever they do. But I don't know. It's probably not him. It's probably other people like... You got pot stirs, and that's a problem in this community. And by this community, I mean politics, Twitch politics, and adjacent commentary type areas. You have people who will go in and try to start fights. Okay, they will link edited VODs, or edited clips, I should say, and misrepresent what people are saying in order to try to pit streamers against each other so they can watch them fight. I've fallen for it a time or two, right? But it didn't take me long to kind of get wise to this is how this space works. So, you know, it is what it is at a certain point. But yeah, at the end of the day, if you have a problem with one of the takes someone had on the panel, that's fine. I had problems with it too. But here's the thing. The discussion happens. And it was being discussed. And it's an important discussion to have. Because it actually matters what the answer here is. So yeah. $5 from Audacity. That panel was destined, pun intended, to fail. There are many more examples to be discussed, and it was a failure on the panelists for not extrapolating. Well, I tried to get them to go to... And to be clear, a couple of them did try to bring up other issues, right? And other people. But, unfortunately, it did get dragged back to the Destiny question. And I expected that might be the case, simply because of the proximity in which we exist to Destiny, as opposed to Winston Churchill, for example. But, yeah, it is what it is. Okay. Let's see. What other topics did I say I was going to talk about today? Let me look. So we covered USAID. We covered Cruelty. We covered how Democrats win. We covered releasing the names of DOGE. Women. Okay, we got to talk about women. Don't have much to say on this, gang. I thought it was a good clickbaity thing. But I do. I'll ask you guys this. Do you guys like when I do kind of the more gender-related content? Do you like that? I mean, you guys, that's frankly how I make a lot of money. I get a lot of super chats and stuff during those panels, more so than I do others. But I don't know if you guys actually like that. We're getting mixed signals in chat. Hate watcher's gonna hate watch. Repeal the 19th. Oh wait, wrong chat. Fair enough. It's mess sometimes, and Cervantes loves it. I think that there are specific issues within that kind of umbrella that are worth discussing, and it's interesting to me to discuss it. But I worry that what I don't want to do is to become a red pill channel or a blue pill channel or a channel that just discusses men's and women's issues. Again, I'm fine with doing it on occasion because I find it interesting. But if I had to do it for a living for all my topics, I'd go insane and crazy. Okay. Yeah, whatever podcast does make a lot of money, right? Look, if you guys gave me more money, okay, invested into my show, if I just need some sugar daddies, okay, sugar daddies in chat or sugar mommies, I'm not opposed to either one. But what I want you to do is just give me thousands and thousands of dollars to set up a studio and to get people in live in person. Because as good as I am at moderating a debate on and hosting a show online, I am far better at it in person. Believe it or not. I am far better at directing conversation in person than I am online. And I'm pretty damn good at it online. I'm far better at conversing in person than I am online. So if you like talking to me online, you'll love talking to me in person. Okay. I'm just better in person across the board, frankly. People are always surprised that I'm not fat, too, which is weird. Do I look fat? Does the camera make me look fat? Like, they meet me in person, they're like, did you lose 50 pounds? I'm like, no, this is just what I look like. I have a fat face? Maybe. Cherubic cheeks? Maybe. And look, I could stand to lose about 15 pounds. Frankly, I'm not like stick thin or nothing. But yeah, it's always shocking to me that people think I'm a fatty. No, just old and slightly out of shape. Audacity says this is ironic given your comment about me. Well, I thought you were going to be fat, but you weren't fat. But I thought you were going to be fat based on your voice alone. And I was mistaken. That's all. I do want to, you know what I wish made the most money of all the shows I did? Okay, but it doesn't. It makes like the least usually. And it's the least attended. But I wish you guys would pay me more for it. Was my D&D and role-playing streams. I love those. I love doing those. I love talking about those things. I am an expert at that topic in a way that I am not with many other topics of conversation. I've been doing it all my life, gang, right? But you guys just are like, boring, and you don't turn in, which is fine. I get it. Speaking of, gang, look at what my community members sent me, and I was very happy to get this as a present. I got some more Warhammer things. They sent it to me. So nice. So good. You guys should send me more, right? I'm going to get a whole sister's army from you guys, just helping me out. I'm really happy, actually. And I'll end today, and we'll end stream here. But I'll say this. Thank you, dear viewers. Even if I know a lot of you like to fight with me. I know a lot of you don't like what I have to say all the time. I know a lot of you disagree with me a lot. But thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming by and giving me your input. I really do appreciate you. You make it fun, gang. I enjoy hosting these shows. I enjoy talking to you guys. I really do. What do we got coming up? So first of all, please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're following this on Twitch or on Kick, hit the follow button. Really helpful. It really does help the stream. And gang, liking and commenting on the stream boosts it in the algorithm so more people can see it. And that would really help. And I'd really appreciate it if you do that. It doesn't cost you nothing. It's a click. And it really does help. Tomorrow, I may or may not have a stream. The person I was supposed to be talking to, Visora, said that she is having some tech issues. So hopefully it gets resolved. But we'll see. it might be a very short week of content this week, unfortunately. But Thursday, gang, Thursday, we got this locked in already. 6 p.m. Eastern, we will be having on Pisco. We'll be having on Lactoid. We'll be having on Zetsui. We'll be having on the Soy Pill. And we'll be talking about whether or not we are in a constitutional crisis, whether or not Trump has put us in one. And that should be a fun debate. So tune in, and that'll be great. So, again, if I'm not live tomorrow, check, right? Check. And watch my Twitter, and I'll probably announce it either way. If I'm not live tomorrow, you can find me Thursday. And then we're going to have some great shows coming up the following week as well. I love you all. Audacity, you're not uninvited. It just filled up, brother. You said to replace you if you could. Or was that someone different? Should probably check. But yeah. Oh, do I have lots of DMs right now? I do have some DMs. I'll have to check them later. Okay, well, either way, I love you all. Who are we raiding into? We will get to raid into Sky Anna. She was on our show a few days ago, a week or two ago. Let's give her, tell her it's a hate raid. Go say hi, and I'll see you guys, if not tomorrow, then Thursday. Cool? Cool. Okay.